No.
Hi, this is Eric Center, and we're doing another episode, but this one's called Casting with the Baron, and we're doing specifically sand casting. All right, this is my friend Sid. She is the artistic one. I am not, but I can do a lot of cool stuff, and she will do all the really cool, fun stuff. All right. One of the things that comes up is, well, why are you casting in sand and not just a straight mold? Well, there's nothing wrong with the sand casting, especially if you don't have a mold. But if you have a mold that you like, that's great. One of the things that's really good with sand casting is that you can be very creative with it. That means you could use anything that you have in your house, from anything like seashells, which can also be a good pattern for soap. You can use anything like paper cups, or you can make small little pyramid shaped candles, which is pretty cool. So we'll be doing one of these later. And we're going to be using mostly styrofoam type products, so therefore we can get basic shapes and then modify them later. Okay, we're going to go through now some of the one more thing about sand casting is the fact that you can create something, take it apart, and use the same form and sand and everything again, and make multiple different casts of the same thing with a slight different variants. So it has a very good multiple use thing, and there's sand pretty much everywhere. So some of the things that you need right now, okay, we're using paraffin, or specifically candle wax. That's pretty much, you can also use a beeswax, some other stuff pertaining to whether you really want a different texture or anything like that. The one thing you got to be careful on is when you melt it. Okay, when you melt it, you want to have a double boiler. Okay, right now you can, this one has water in it and some melted paraffin, but we're going to start it up and melt some more. When you do a double boil, you can either have the pan above and essentially have the steam heating it, or you can actually put it and lay it on top of the water, which is what we have here, and it'll actually melt and get hotter faster. You have to be careful though that as soon as you start to see any type of steam, and definitely if you see any type of smoke, you need to definitely cut it off, because you don't want it to catch on fire. So you never really have it on high. You want it to have on medium to medium high, but you always need to make sure you're keeping an eye on it. Okay, so we'll get that started now. We're going to put just 2 in. Now this will start to melt around about 110 to 120 is the perfect melted temperature to start pouring, because it's not going to be too hot, it's not going to be too cold. Pretty much you can tell immediately, because it's going to start changing from a clear color to a white color. Okay, some of the other things you're going to need is, like I said before, a mold. You're going to need some wicks. Pretty much everything that you're going to get, there's going to be either pre-wax wicks of different lengths that you can cut, or wicks that have bases on them. And here's a longer one over here. Some of the other things you're going to need are a way to secure the wicks. Okay, you can do that with tongue depressors, small little clips, some skewers, which always works out well, and a lot of people say use chopsticks. I agree with them, but I always say get the wooden chopsticks, but do not break them. Make sure that they're still together, because it creates a very good tension, and you can slide it where you need to, and just let it go. Let's see, what else do we need? Oh, if you want to have color, another good thing is to have, if you got kids, you got old crayons, they're just all over the place, get some crayons, you can melt them in there. Some of the things that we're doing here is casting specific, but if you want to make candles that you want to travel with and everything, I always say get candles that you want to make, put them in a mason jar. Okay, therefore if it starts to the wax starts to melt, it'll stay in the jar, and you can also close the cover, and therefore it's not going to spill, and you can carry it very easily. All right, so what would you like to do now? Do you want to start with your stuff, or do you want to try the pyramid
so
first? I see how you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting a layer of sand. Now, as you can see, some of the sand is already wet, okay? The type of sand you should get is going to be really what type of pattern you want. If you don't really care about details, pretty much any type of sand. I always tell people the best type of sand is to get as fine the sand as you can. All right, that will go make really good details, really good. All right, get it in there. Shift it around. You can also take go and level it off. Now, when you want is to get a good solid base. Now, you can get this is just a lid opener for a 5-gallon tub. But what you want is you want something that you can compress the sand down so that there's no air gaps or anything. Just something simple like that. Nice, even surface. Now, next thing is to get your form. Okay, position it where you want. Push it down a bit. All right. And now from there, get like a little cup. And just start, hold the form in place. Oh, starting to heat up a bit. I'm going to turn this off. It's going to be hot enough now that the rest of it is going to, just hold it down really good and press it. There you go. The rest of it is going to melt the rest of the unmelted wax. It'll just take a few minutes.
Gotta focus.
Now there's two ways of doing this. When you get sand first, that's not wet, very dry, you can still do the same thing, but you have to make sure that you put a lot of water in it to make sure that the form stays that way. You could put some water on and then take it off, and you're going to realize that the form is going to collapse underneath because there's not enough water there. So it doesn't hurt to add a little bit of water before you do the casting to create a slightly firm but malleable base. She likes to make a lot of noise.
Wow. It's kind of me to get into it sometimes.
Now to give you a little quick example, because we're going to have to use some of this sand for that one. What I did was I took the exact same foam block earlier, put it in here and put 2 wicks in it and just left it. I didn't do any designs or anything. Now the one nice thing about getting a form out of sand. You lift it up, push up underneath, and it comes loose. So simple, so easy. So messy.
Need more.
Now, at this point, what you want to do is you want to be able to get it out. So, what you want to do is, like, since I like to use like a styrofoam type of pattern, because it's easy to just stick one of the skewers. Actually, I'll do 2 of them. Are you
I'm not done.
not quite done? After she gets done, just put 2 of them in on each side, because you want to be able to lift it out without trying to change the pattern. Some people will say you can put some baby powder on it to make it easier to come out. It's hard to keep on putting baby powder on a form as you're trying to put the sand in. You're gonna need a little more on the edges.
Just that front edge, I think.
So as you can see, this is just a simple square that I put 2 wicks in. And then you just get as much of it off as you can. Just simply rubbing will get quite a bit off. And of course you're going to have some deviations, some major ones. All you do is just simply take a knife or a pair of scissors and just cut the edges off. Shouldn't be throwing the wax in with my sand. Oh, actually trying to pull up. As I'm starting to lift up, have you tap the corners down. Remember, we got plenty of time. There's no rush on any of this. Let me take this out. All right, now, no matter what, the form's not going to be perfect. That's another good example of what the tongue depressors can do, is to secure the sides. I break one in half and not take it all the way off, and I can use it as a scoop or as an L flattener, anything like that. Come back and finish this up real quick. Now, the interesting thing too on these is the fact that you're not going to get a perfect candle. And that's kind of the purpose. If you want a perfect candle, you go to the store and you buy it. This is something that's fun. where you want to go and create like a little swirl pattern in it. To get a swirl pattern, what you want to do is, once you get the wax poured, then you start taking your nice little skewer, just a small little circles, and you start dripping in colored crayon wax or whatever like that to start creating like a swirl pattern. Some people are like, how do they get like those strange, almost like a broken ice looking thing where it's like, hey, there's already holes in it. How did that happen? Well, it looks like ice because it's made with ice. What they do is they take a whole bunch of crushed ice, put it in the form, pour the wax on it, and then it hardens into that shape. In the meantime, as it hardens into that shape, the ice melts and it runs out. So you get these holes in it. So what do they do then? They just turn the form upside down and they pour a different colored wax in. So you might have blue on one and yellow on the other. So you're going to have yellow and blue wax that's going to be different, intermixed amongst it. So there's different things that you can always do and try. So now, to get a nice evenness on it, there's two things you can do. I'm not going to do the first one because we're still using the wax. One is to actually take the wax and dunk it back into the liquid wax you have. Let it dry a little bit, do it again about 2 or 3 times per side, and that's going to pretty much level off a lot of the ridges, okay? Same thing on the bottom. Another trick you can use is take a hairdryer at high temperature and just run it over. Same thing. Once it starts to get a little bit wet again, just take your tongue depressor, smooth it out, heat it up, smooth it out, heat it up, and all the rough edges are gone, including the bottom, okay? So, you're going to create a pattern now inside it, on top of it. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm gonna do a squirrel now.
A squirrel?
Yeah, because you said something about a squirrel,
Oh,
so why not?
A squirrel or a
Yeah, a squirrel.
a whirl?
No, squirrel.
I meant a whirl.
Like
A squirrely whirl. A whirly squirrel?
squirrely.
Why are we doing this now?
I don't know. So I wasn't talking.
Okay. So you do want a swirl?
Squirrel.
You can make whatever pattern you want.
Cute.
Are you just going to draw something in there now?
Yeah.
Okay. So remember, if you're going to be doing it this way, you need to have the wicks pointing down because the pattern is going to show up on the bottom half. Okay. So the way that I did this one, I had it in here, or in the other form, I had it in there, and I just took my chopsticks, put the wick in, and just set it down on top, and just let the wick sit right there. So I could position it very nicely. Now, if you want to make sure, you probably need a bigger pattern than that.
Oh, I'm gonna scoop a little bit out.
Okay,
I know what I'm about. I know what I'm doing.
you're good. That's fine. Sorry. All right, while she's doing that, I'm going to show you one of the simplest, and that is just a cup candle, okay? What you do is you take any type of paper cup, okay? Go and poke a hole into the bottom. From there, take your wick, put it through, make sure it's flush. Now, there's a couple different things you can do. Can I see the tape, please? You can go take a piece of tape, put it on there. You can go take a little, if you have like a little spoon or something, take a little bit of wax, put it on the back half to make sure it doesn't leak. Or, what is easiest is just take another paper cup, stick it on the bottom, and now I'm going to show you again with the chopsticks. Balanced better. Just stick it right there where I want it. And I take some of the wax. And just pour it in. And that is the simplest and easiest candle to make. You just let it cool. The size of the candle and really the type of wax or paraffin that you use is also going to determine how long it will take to fully dry. Remember, I said when it's wet, it's clear. When it starts to dry, it becomes white. So, like for the bigger candles like this, it can take 2 to 3 hours because the very center might still be soft on the inside. So you got to be careful. Now, for this one, I don't know if you can see it real well. I'll bring it up close. It has an indentation right in the middle. Now, if you want to, you can go and pour some more wax right there to level it off. To me, I find this beneficial because since this is a 2-wick candle, once you start lighting it, the wax is going to automatically pour towards the center, so you're going to have less of a mess. So the candle itself is going to melt the wax and level the candle off. So even though it might not look perfect, it will actually function better. As she's still doing that one,
This world's kind of complicated.
She likes squirrels and owls. Earlier, I just did a simple sand casting of a triangle, a round triangle. Guess it's a cone. So from there, I poured and created this candle. Now with this one, for the outside that was pretty rough, I just did the nice little taking this and dunking it back into the wax to create a coating. Make sure it sits good. You can also put it back on both tongue depressors. And just let it sit. Now, as you can see, I didn't get all the sand off of it. So there's going to be some image or texture underneath it. Now this can be a good thing because what you can do is there's other things you can do. So from here, you can go and carve in some design and put like a thread or something in there. You can make a nice little cool griffin design or North Shield sign or any design that you want, and then dip it back in wax. It's always going to be there. It'll be cool. So as it melts, it coats over, you can still see a pattern. The other nice thing is you can also put different spices on the outside. So say you're like, man, I just love the smell of cinnamon. So just take some powdered cinnamon. Thank you very much. And just take some, put it in your hand, and just rub it on the candle. Dip it again, let it dry a little bit, put some more on the candle, dip it again, put some more on the candle. Now, it's not really going to give off a huge aroma. If you want that, you really need scented oils to add to it. But it's going to give you a texture and an image that's going to enhance the candle. So even if it doesn't give off the flavor, someone's going to go, man, that candle smells great. What is it? Oh, it's cinnamon. Wow, that's great. Yeah, I can even see the cinnamon. Or if you like to take small, thinly set peels of oranges or lemon or lavender, anything like that, you can put it on the outside and make it slightly a potpourri looking candle and just add the scented oils in there again. Are we almost done?
I'm sorry.
This is not the Sistine Chapel, but that's okay.
If it doesn't look like a squirrel, it's not gonna look good.
It's gonna melt as soon as you can't light it anyway.
Does that look like a squirrel? I think it looks like a squirrel.
Sure.
It's a squirrel.
It's a squirrel. Trust me.
Yeah, what are we doing next?
If you can't hear me, it's a squirrel. The next time you see her, say, that was a great squirrel.
It's a squirrel.
I hate this squirrel. All right, so where do you want your wicks?
Well, good God.
One or
we
two?
don't, if two would be great.
Okay, where do you want them?
Well, I mean, one should definitely be in its eyeball.
Okay.
For sure. Well, no, let's just do like
The other one is not gonna
What?
be in its spot.
How about
How about the tail and the
tip
foot?
of the tail and right in front of the feet?
Oh my god,
Now we're
that was scaring me.
going another direction that's not so great.
All right, so simply do that. Upside down, sorry, thank you very much. You want the tongue depressor one?
No, I don't want to use the pressures. I want to use the chopsticks. Give me another set.
You guys are killing me.
Aw, dang it. You're killing me, Smalls.
That's right, you're killing me, baby. Smalls.
You just call me Baby Smalls. That's so nice.
All right, so this one. Now, sometimes the wick is going to be longer or shorter. You definitely always want to have it longer. So what you want to do is you want to poke a little hole to make sure that the wick goes past the wax.
I didn't poke a hole. There you go.
I want to turn the whole thing around. Or, hold on. And this is the other nice thing. If your sticks are too long, you can easily break them. Okay, now from there, I'll have you slowly start pouring in the wax.
Cool.
So, I always try and start by actually pouring on the chopsticks till I get a nice even coat on the bottom. And I don't want to pour too much, too heavy, that it could change the shape of something that was already drawn. There you go. Step up to the side. Cheer you on from the side.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot to me.
I try my best.
This particular pouring technique is something I learned in science class.
Yes.
So I need to really direct the flow. Works with soda.
Remember to be very loud. Unfortunately, that
It works with soda. Oh crap! I moved stuff. It's
that's
okay.
It didn't move, pop it out. That's good.
So now I'm not gonna bother. The squirrel's coated.
of the other things you're going to need is, for this type of double boiler, I bought a special pot for the wax or paraffin to be in, because you're not going to use the pot ever again. So once you start using it, don't try and use it again, because if you don't get all the wax off, you don't want that problem. So just keep it in there. The other benefit on that is, hey, well, I didn't use all of this wax. Well, just let it dry, and you just put it back in a double boiler the next time you want to use it.
So excited for this squirrel.
Darn it. Perfect example.
Was it still warm?
Nope, I did not get enough moisture to the bottom half of it. All right. I was hopefully going to show you something really cool that I did earlier, but this is also just as important. Where's that format? What? That green form.
I don't actually know.
Just keep on going. I'll look for it.
It was like what? Some sort of weird garden thing? It was green.
Nope.
So you had a plastic cup. Hey, did it get put in the bathroom or something?
No, I think you're right. Thank you.
I'm smart. Or at least I try. Ooh, that's funny.
All right, that's good. All right, so
Don't mind me.
I was going to use this form to make a candle. So I did it earlier today, and this is what it turned out to be. Pretty much 2/3 of it was good. What does that mean? Oh. Okay, so 2/3 of it was good. The bottom 2/3, I did not pour enough water into the form for it to stay solid. Still recording?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you can see, it was really good right up to where it wasn't. So up here is where it should have continued to come here, but because the form was still soft from dry sand, pressure pushed it out, and that's the funky candle that came out of it. Now some people are like, oh, well, your candle's gone. Nope.
It's just shorter.
Like I said, the whole purpose is to practice, do different things. From here, all I have to do is just take off this part, cut the wick off a little bit, and I'll still have a candle that's mostly what I was going for. Next time, I need to make sure that I have wetter sand on the bottom that's much more firm. All right, unfortunately, we are not going to have enough time.
Yeah, that's going to take a couple of hours. Just
Yeah, that's going to be about an hour and a half for it to set. But it'll look something like this with a pattern on top.
That looks vaguely like a squirrel.
So the next time you see her, ask her how her squirrel is.
Melted, because I'll use the candle.
Now, here's another interesting thing she could have done. What do you think you could have done with it to show the squirrel better?
I could carve the squirrel after it's solid.
No.
I could have pre-made a squirrel and pressed it in there.
True, but how would that come out better after it was done? What I'm getting at is you take some of the paraffin that you've already melted and you put brown crayon in it, mix it up so it melts, and you just pour the pattern in a specific color.
Yeah.
Same thing, you can go and do the same thing. Hey, I want to put some flowers. You can put green for the stems, yellow for the things, and it looks really cool.
But
Then
I'm
you burn
not
it,
great.
and then it's really cool afterwards because you get to do it all over again.
Yeah, I didn't bring crayons. That's okay.
But this is one of the things where this is just a basic class on different things. Now, we also have things where you can actually have pre-made molds. Like this one has bees on it. You can do the same thing like I said with the cup. You can go and, hey, I'm going to, right at the top of the bee, cut a little hole in it, put the wick in there, pour the wax, and then you can have same thing. Oh, I want the wings be black. I want the body to be yellow. I want the, doing something cool like that. But you can do the same thing with soap, okay? So this is all what you want to do and the capabilities you have at hand. But like I said, we're starting with candles, and if it goes well, next week we'll try one on soaps. But I hope everyone had a good time.
I did.
That's the most important thing. And to, like I said, one thing we didn't add is color, aroma. So definitely have some colors. You can put some potpourri type stuff in it to give it some flair. Make it kind of cool. This is, as with everything else, quit playing with it.
It's a little hot.
Now, here's another interesting thing that you talked about earlier. You can take your hand, put it in there, and then you can pour it. And then all of a sudden, you can put a wick in each one of the fingers.
Yep.
So you can have a hand on your nice little feast table. And
melts the fingers off while you're eating.
And no offense, if I see someone with a hand that is on a table, I will take credit for that because I think that's a cool idea. All right, this is Eric Saturn.
Sindelikia. I snuck it in there. Sid.
And we want to thank you for showing up for Sandcasting. Bye.